All right, guys, this is part 2 on the 50 Stunt slider / peg saga. Let's get into it. All right, I spent the money so you don't have to on this stuff. This is their longer slider. They call this one the Jumbo or the 2 1/4. And it is not 2 1/4. It is actually 2 1/2 to the end of the peg here, as you can see. Let me make that more clear. 2 1/2. And then 2 7/8 to the end of the puck. And the other one I checked is 1 1/2 to the end of the peg and 1 7/8 to the end of the puck. So it is exactly 1 inch larger. One of the things they mention on their website is that if you are more of a racer, like you're putting the bike at full lean angle, they recommend that you get the shorter version of these so that the slider doesn't contact the ground before you reach your max lean angle. Well, we're going to test that. According to my phone, this is a 56-degree lean angle whenever I put my phone on the fork. I can just about guarantee you that if I'm ever leaning this bike at that angle, I'm coming off that dude. Let's go a little lower. Oh. Dang it. Here we are, according to my phone, at 57-degree lean angle. Just about to scrape the peg there, the foot peg. You still got a little ways on the slider. Again, I don't ever see myself getting that crazy on this bike. Maybe if you're a pro level guy, but not me. And here we are at what my phone calls a 61-degree lean angle. You see the left foot peg is just barely touching the ground. The slider has what I'm gonna call a little over 1/2 of an inch, probably 5/8 of an inch. And probably on the back, probably about 3/4. And here we are on the other side of the bike. My phone is still calling that 61 degrees. You can see the foot peg is just touching the ground. The slider is about the same on this side, about 1/2 to 5/8 of an inch off the front. And the back one, I'd say it's about 1/2 of an inch from touching the ground. But if you'll remember, the back one on the right side is longer because of that spacer they have on there. So I'm gonna put it on the stand and we'll measure the difference. Here we are on the back right side of the bike. And if we measure from this, the inside of this adapter to the end of the puck, it is 2 3/4. And if you'll remember, the total length of this is 2 7/8. So there's an 1/8 of an inch difference. If we were to put this on there without this adapter, it'd only stick out an 1/8 of an inch further. But because of the adapter, you have to have the adapter. The 2 1/2 inch model is going to stick out that much further than the other. So if we leave this one on here because of the adapter, it just about equals within an 1/8 of an inch that length. It only sticks out an 1/8 of an inch further than this already does. So let's see how that looks on the other sides of the bike. Here we are on the rear left side of the bike. And if we stick this longer peg on there, it's going to stick out a total of right at 3 inches. Let me double check that. Yeah, right at 3 inches to the edge of this puck here. And if you remember, the other side measured 2 3/4. So with the long peg on the left side, it'll only be 1/4 of an inch difference from left to right. Whereas right now, this sticks out only 2 inches. The other side is 2 3/4. So it's 3/4 of an inch difference is how much further the right side of the bike sticks out than this side. So this makes it much, much closer, quarter of an inch, most people aren't going to notice that. Okay, at the front of the bike, here we are. This is the front right side of the bike. I know it's on the left side of the screen, but this is the right side of the bike. And here's the left side of the bike. So this side sticks out a quarter of an inch further than this side just because of the adapter. So it's not really a whole lot that most people are going to notice. And obviously with the 2.5 inch peg, it's going to stick out 1 inch further than it already does. But we're going to put all these on and we're going to do the lean angle test again. And we're going to see when these contact the ground. All right, guys, here we are at the back of the left side of the bike. And with the 2.5 inch peg on there, off the inside of the spacer, it measures exactly 3 inches to the end of that peg. Maybe about a 30-second shy. Now on the right side, we left the short peg because the adapter is so big. From the inside of the adapter to the outside of the peg, it measures 2 and about a 1/16 under 3/4. But from the block here, the adjustment block, to the outside of the peg, it is 2 7/8. So you could call it a 1/8 of an inch to a 1/4 of an inch difference from one side to the other. It's hard to tell that looking at it because this looks a little different because of the color change. But the actual stick out is much, much closer than it was before. Much closer. Here's the front of the bike. They'll stick out, I mean, substantially further. It does look, I mean, I will say slightly goofy. But when you look down the bike, everything kind of sticks out on the same plane. Like, especially if you have the Full Metal Stunt Works deals. And everything's really close to sticking out the same distance. So I kind of like that. I think that's going to work out really well. Now obviously these are going to be best suited for street riding. If you have a set of dirt tires, I probably wouldn't want to run these in the dirt. Only because you're going through trees and ruts and stuff like that. These are definitely going to get caught on something and it's probably going to throw you off the bike. So keep that in mind. If you have a set of dirt tires, you're probably going to want the shorties. Here we are at that max lean angle that I showed you earlier, that 61 or 2 degrees. And you can see the front peg is touching the ground. The foot peg is touching the ground just barely. The rear peg slider is about 1/2 inch to 3/4, just like it was before, because we didn't change that one. And here we are at that 57 degree angle shown earlier. And the front peg is about 3/8 of an inch off of the ground. And then obviously the rest are the way they were. Now here the bike is laying on its side. The front slider's hitting. The rear slider's hitting. The Full Metal Stunt Parts deal is not hitting by about 3/4 of an inch. And of course we're on the handlebar. Now I do have the handlebar cocked to where it's perfectly straight, which it didn't naturally want to do. Let me put it where it naturally wants to go. Okay, that cocked angle right there is how the bike naturally wants to go when it's laid over. We're hitting the front slider. We're hitting the Full Metal Stunt Works slider. And the rear slider. So where that bike naturally would go in a slide, all 3 of these sliders are on the ground, including the handlebar. Now here the bike is on its left side. And again, I have the handlebars perfectly straight. They don't naturally want to do that. The front slider's hitting. The Full Metal Stunt Works slider is about 1/2 inch off the ground. And the rear slider, sorry for the shakiness. The The rear slider is touching along with the kickstand. So all those are touching. Now I'm gonna put the handlebars in their, what would be natural position. So about full tilt there is about what the handlebars wanted to do. The Full Metal Stunt Works sliders on the ground. The rear sliders on the ground along with the kickstand. And the bars are at full twist. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. I can't think of any other measurements or any other angles to show you. I really hope that this video helps you to make your decision on which sliders are going to be best for you. And as you can tell, I'm running a combination of both. I have 3 of the jumbo sliders, the 2 1/4, which are 2.5 inch sliders on my bike, and then 1 of the 1.5 or 1 1/4 inch sliders, slider on my bike. So I don't know if he will sell you a combination like that. So if you want a setup like this, you're gonna have to do some extra spending, which is not a whole lot of fun, but maybe you can talk him into selling these individually. So that's the end of the video. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. If there's any extra measurements or things you want to see that you're curious about, let me know in the comments, and maybe I could share my email and we could share some photos back and forth if you need. Thank you for watching this video.